Good evening and welcome to Crossroads. Earlier this week we talked about how there's a global agenda to restrict meat. Mayors in close to 100 cities around the world have signed on with a program to phase out meat. The goal is to have zero consumption, none at all, by 2030. These so-called fact checkers have tried writing this off, but they're doing it using deceptive language. They're using technicalities to mislead people about the facts. And it's fair to say that technically this is not a ban. Technically it's not some globalist program forcing this on cities. So what is it? It's mayors independently joining a global program where they are saying they're going to do it. They're using policy, they're using local budgets to enact the goals. Now, last time we talked pretty extensively about what's happening in New York City, where both the current and the former mayor have already made headway on the 2030 plan. But it's not just New York City. It's 14 cities in the United States alone. One of these is Phoenix, Arizona, where rumors of a meat ban have just recently been making headlines. The Gateway Pundit reported on Tuesday that Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego is reportedly laying the groundwork in Phoenix to ban meat, dairy, and cars and carry out globalist leader Klaus Schwab's 2030 agenda with C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. As it notes, the program is C40 Cities. It's basically a voluntary pledge on a set of green agendas that close to 100 mayors of cities around the world have in fact signed on to. The program is in fact tied with the World Economic Forum. In fact, it's even on their website. And the WEF, of course, is in fact a partner on the United Nations Agenda 2030 program. Now, Mayor Gallego was quick to write this off as just being, fake essentially. She posted a photo of herself on X eating a bowl of cereal, and she wrote there has been a lot of false information about her work to make Phoenix more sustainable. She then said she is not banning meat or milk. Her claim was quickly refuted, however. Jeff Caldwell at AZ Free News wrote a very lengthy piece with a bold statement accusing her of, quote, lying through her teeth. He pointed to the fact that Gallego is on the C40 steering committee, and a quick perusal of the C40 website shows her page confirming this. She has a page on it, in fact. Now, I'd say there's a technical argument here. Look, it's fair to say that she's not banning meat or milk. The thing is, C40 doesn't talk about banning them either. The technical language they use is to engage in, quote, consumption intervention. And yes, the group openly states its intention to have city mayors to engage in consumption intervention to stop people from eating meat and consuming dairy products. In fact, it's on their website, and it's printed in the group's reports. They don't hide it. The main one people point to is from 2019. It's titled The Future of Urban Consumption in 1.5 degrees Celsius World. It portrays meat like it's the devil of a doomsday cult. It claims that stopping people from eating meat can save 160,000 people from dying every single year from things like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. And it claims that stopping people from eating meat can help stop the big doomsday conspiracy of the climate emergency. The report explains the goals for dietary change as a type of intervention to save us all. It gives both progressive and quote-unquote ambitious targets to reach by 2030. For meat, for example, the progressive target is 16 kilograms each year. That's around 35 pounds. Now, keep in mind that the average American eats around 274 pounds of meat every single year. So that's a pretty major cut to how much meat you're going to be eating if you're in one of those cities. So what's the ambitious goal, though? Well, zero. They don't want you eating meat at all. Same goes for dairy. It appears they genuinely believe that if they can successfully cut meat and dairy, at least what they say on paper, they believe it will stave off climate change. Just sacrifice your steaks at the altar of big government and we'll be okay. Now, the report states, quote, If C40 Cities change their food consumption habits in line with the identified progressive targets, well, it says the category's emissions could be cut by 51%. So that's a progressive target. But what about the ambitious target, the one where they stop us from eating meat and having dairy altogether? Well, it says this. The adoption of ambitious targets would enable an additional 9% reduction. Now, it seems that in their eyes, they're not trying to stop us from eating meat and just to be mean. They're trying to save us from ourselves and our inability to recognize their grand savior of massive state bureaucracy to micromanage our lives. Also, they want to stop us from driving cars, and they also want to make it so we can't buy more than a few items of clothes each year. I'm not even joking. Now, of course, you might be wondering, how do they plan to stop people from eating meat? Obviously, people want it. That's the nature of a free market. Supply is driven by demand. So how do you get around this? Well, it proposes that mayors use the power of the city's budgets and to use regulations to change the way people are able to eat. And that brings us back to Phoenix, Arizona. Now, despite being a prominent member of the C40 program, the mayor says that she is not banning meat or dairy, but it does appear she's taking steps to implement policies that seem very close to the agenda. Well, folks, that's it for YouTube. For the rest of the episode, come join us on EpochTV. We have a lot to talk about. We'll be going into China, the Chinese Communist Party, and whether they're going to wage war on all of us. We'll go into their defense budget, some of the messing with numbers we've seen recently, and what it tells us about where things are heading. We'll also be talking about the upcoming Biden impeachment inquiry. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, just spoke before Congress. We'll talk about what was said there and what it tells us about where things are likely heading. Some real important discussions coming up. Again, for the rest of it, join us on EpochTV. And also, we have a lot of other great content there, documentaries, special features, and of course, the rest of my episodes. That said, as well, you also get to support free speech and help my show keep going. That said, folks, I appreciate your support. We have a big sale right now, 25 cents a week, and I will see you there. Thank you.
People from 160 countries illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border and give themselves up to Border Patrol. But what about the ones who evade Border Patrol? These are known as the gotaways.
You can safely assume that anybody that went through the extra effort to avoid U.S. Border Patrol was not an asylum seeker by default.
It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but somewhere down the road, if somebody rapes and kills somebody, and we find out that they came through here on my watch, that's unacceptable.
These men had surrounded my house. They were banging on my back door. They were banging on my front door.
You can't understand it unless you're out here seeing it every day. 21 dead bodies on the property.
Code 3 response.
Is it wrong to ask people to come to your front door of your home? Then why would it be wrong to ask people to come to the front door of our nation?
Their primary goal is to circumvent the checkpoints, go undetected.
People that do not want to surrender, those are going to be the potential terrorists, the criminals, the real threat to the U.S.
We were hoping the federal government would step in and do something, but they didn't.
We have no clue who they are or where they're going. That's the scary part.